let's look a little closer at how to edit and refine our layer mask once we've taken our selection and turned into a mask, as I've done here. So when you see this, of course, we have the layer itself and the mask we want to work on. Let me zoom in a little bit. You have to make sure, first of all, that you're looking at the right place. When you're looking at the layer, see that little extra outline that appears? We want to actually work on the layer mask. So it's important to make sure we're starting off on the right place. Now, sometimes you might want to just start off by actually looking at the mask itself. If you hold down Option or Alt and click on the layer mask thumbnail, it will take you to the mask itself. And now you can start to look at it, and I can see some areas in here that aren't as white as they might be, or I might want them to be. So I could paint on that with white or black. One thing that I like to do, and I've mentioned this sort of in passing before, even though ultimately I need my mask to be this way around with white and black, sometimes it can help you see what you're doing if you invert the mask. See, now I didn't even notice that. I can see areas around her eyes and the dog's eyes and so on that aren't quite dark enough. So there's nothing wrong with inverting it just temporarily to kind of see what you're doing. So first of all, let's deal with the fact that there is white all over the place here. Although I could make selections and paint them or just paint by hand, there's a very quick way globally throughout the whole image to do this when you just need areas that aren't quite white to be filled with white, is to do this. Use the fill command, make sure white is the foreground color, and just change the blend mode to overlay. What this means is it'll only fill with white areas that are kind of a light grayish color, will not affect the black. Check it out when I click OK. See how the black didn't change? I'm going to undo that and redo it. See how it's changed the look now. It has filled in a few little pieces that I might not want. So that's the only danger. And that's why it's worth trying to see. In this case, I think I'll undo that, and I'm going to invert it again so I can see those problematic areas that I need to look at. Just select them and fill with black. That looks pretty good. And then invert it back again so it's looking the way that I want. And of course you can always check and make sure in the context of your image itself. Now, as we already saw, you could do a bit of painting on here, but what we want to do is take advantage of something that's new in CS4, and that is the Masks panel. So I click on my layer mask, then I click here in the mask, and I want to alter it. Now, there are some things that don't make sense to do in this particular case. The density of the mask was like making the mask see-through, which means I'm letting some of the original color show back again, which doesn't make too much sense. I could, I suppose, feather the edge of the mask a little bit, but it's starting to look a little bit out of focus, and if I go too far, I get glowing edges with blue showing back again. So the real button, the real key button we're going to use is this one here, Mask Edge, and it looks suspiciously like the Refine Edge button with selections because, well, it is. And this is what it lets us do. It lets us look at our selection in a couple of different ways. Now, in this case, because the original background was blue, I think what I might do is view it on black. Even though ultimately I'm going to use it on white, by viewing it on this darker color, I can really see the bit of the blue and make some decisions, although I'd probably along the way switch to white, see what I'm doing. So the nice thing about this, just like the Refine Edge command, is when you're trying to figure out what to do, just hover over a command like Radius, and it'll tell you that this will improve the edge where there are soft transitions. Contrast will make soft edges a little crisper. Smooth is going to take away some jagged edges. Feather, of course, will do that. Soften edge with a kind of bit of a blur. And then contract and expand. So the first thing I might try is just contracting a bit. And you can see as I'm doing that, some of the blue is starting to go away a little bit. Now let's check it out on the white background to see it looks a little better. I can turn the preview on or off. It's already looking a little better to me. Now I'm losing a little bit of detail, so I may need to pull back on that a little bit, maybe push the feather up just a touch, make sure our preview's back on. And really this is what it comes down to, is just playing with some settings and see what you get. But the nice thing again is this, you couldn't do this easily before, or as easily, because it wasn't attached to the layer mask as it is now. So once I'm happy with it, I click OK. That's really one of the nicest ways to do some editing on the mask. Now there's always going to be occasions, like in this case here, if I zoom in, I can still see, for example, around the edge of the dog, there's still a little tiny bit of blue in there. So what I may need to do is just manually get myself a small little brush. I'm just right or control clicking to pick a small little brush with black. What I might do is paint slightly lower opacity and just have to go in here and do some trimming. Now I'm going to lose a little bit of detail because it's going to be next to impossible to get rid of that little bit of blue without losing a little bit of the fur. But that's something we're just going to have to kind of live with and decide upon. Keeping in mind that I have zoomed in a fair bit. So at a certain point you still want to head back out and see what it looks like. So there's always going to be a combination of manual editing where you are painting on the mask itself and or use of this mask panel. Now let's say for the sake of argument, I'm not going to use this mask panel. I want to work on the mask, but I want to see it in the context of what I'm doing on the photo. So if I look at it this way, I'm just seeing the mask, not seeing how it looks on the photo. We talked earlier in the course about quick mask. Well, here's how we can take advantage of quick mask in here as well, is by clicking on the mask and then pressing the backslash key, and the backslash turns it into quick mask type view. So I'm still working on the mask. You can see that by the border around here, but I'm seeing it in that quick mask kind of view so I can see more clearly what's going on. So as an example, if I started masking like this, you can see, okay, I obviously went the wrong way, so I need to swap my color, and I can bring it back again. So it's acting just like quick mask, but in the layer context. Let's just undo that enough times to take away the stuff I did. The backslash key is kind of like a toggle switch. It'll toggle between the view without that quick mask view and with quick mask view. So again, take advantage of the fact that when you turn your selection into a layer mask like this, you can edit it a number of different ways, including using the brand new Masks panel.